check this out. This is fun. I got this for you. And this is fun, 49er fans. You like this. You like that? You like this. So, under Kyle Shanahan, the San Francisco 49ers, and I want to shout out, this is straight out of X, straight out of Twitter from our former coworker.
I just call it Twitter.
Kyle Madsen, I know.
I don't go X.
But I'm like looking at it and it says x.com.
All right.
So whatever.
Kyle Madsen, I love Kyle Madsen.
Yeah, Kyle's our good friend. And he tweeted this out.
Just saw him at the last game.
How's he doing?
He's doing good.
Good. Under Kyle Shanahan, the 49ers are 16-30 before the bye and 36-16 after it.
And that was a point of emphasis coming out of camp by Shanahan is let's start fast.
16-30 before the bye, 36-16 after it. So while I've heard this point be made, and I've largely kind of dismissed it because I'm still just coming out of they should not be 5-3. They should not be 5-3. At minimum, this team should be 6-2, but
it would have been 6-2 if their kicker made a 40-yard
field goal. Exactly. Yeah. But they should not be 5-3. So I'm not comfortable with this yet. But a lot of people have said, hey, look at the characteristics of this team. Largely in their years where they end up in the NFC title game, they get to this spot and they're like 3-5 or 4-5 or 2-5 or whatever.
They run the table.
And then they go crazy. Now, I don't know if this year is that because those years have had different things going on, whether it's acquiring Christian McCaffrey,
getting healthy,
what have you. So,
schedule.
Or who's our quarterback? Jimmy was going to be benched if he didn't beat the Rams on that Monday night a few years ago. So you were figuring things out. This team doesn't feel like they're figuring things out. It's no, this is them. You just need to play better. So I don't know if we can fall back on that, but for whatever it's worth, that is a pretty crazy number that I just read.
Yeah. And there are reasons for it, and you'd have to go research them. Part of it is maybe they dial up the intensity. Part of it could be injury related. Part of it is that they've been very active at the trade deadline, so their roster is actually better, seemingly after the deadline than before the deadline. The deadline's late October, early November. So maybe that, and the buys are usually, somewhere in the middle of the year. So maybe that's part of it. Maybe they just get a little bit more focused as the thing goes on. But my question to Peter about the run D, and I'm glad that he sees it the same way I see it.
That was your question, yeah.
I'm very nervous about this. I did a deep dive on the run D, and I didn't like what I found. What I saw was they got gashed in the preseason. They gave up 552 rushing yards in 3 preseason games. They didn't stop the run in any of the preseason games. And I asked Kyle before week 1, are you worried about the run D? And he's like, well, I would be if I was based on the preseason. But we were number 1 in the run against the run last year, and we feel pretty good about our run defense.
But preseason personnel, was that even the guys who are playing?
Yeah, I mean, exactly. You had Jalen Graham, you had D. Winters, you had linebackers who took bad angles, you had Duggan for the Chargers as running quarterback, got loose in the fourth quarter. So
Nick Bosa wasn't even on the team in the preseason.
Right. But then week 1, they didn't really stop Pittsburgh's run. They just got a big lead. They were up 20-7.5. Najee only had 6 carries. Week 2, the Rams ran it pretty well, but they passed it 55 times.
Yep.
So, but Kyron Williams still ran for 4 yards a carry. Week 3, they got the Giants who did not have Saquon Barkley.
Correct.
So the Giants didn't even try to run at all. They only ran 11 times. Week 4, they got up 21-10 on the Cardinals at halftime, but still James Conner.
Almost 5 per carry.
He only had 11 carries. So, now you got teams running it well, but they're not running it often. Then Dallas, they were up 21-7.5. So Tony Pollard got only 8 carries.
Yeah, they did stop them there. Dallas was held to 3 a carry.
Right.
That was it, but game.
But they got kind of impatient. Prescott threw 3 picks, and Pollard only got 8 carries. So then we get into week 6, and the Cleveland Browns are the number 3 rushing offense, and they had P.J. Walker at quarterback, And as you would expect them to do, they committed to the run. They ran 34 times, and they ran for 4.7 a carry, with Jerome Ford averaging like almost 5 yards a carry. Then Minnesota carved them up, and everybody remembers Cousins being awesome on third down, but Alexander Mattison only ran 8 times, but he had, they were the 29th rush offense in football going into that game, and Madison ran for 4.9 a carry. So that was discouraging. Then last week against the Bengals statistically, Mark, were the worst rushing offense in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
And Joe Mixon averaged 5.4 a carry, and the Bengals ran for, as a team, over 5 yards a carry.
Yep.
So now, looking at it on paper, Etienne goes for 3.9 a carry. Not great, but he is fast. They're a mid-pack rushing attack. Then they get Tampa, Rachaad White, 3.4 a carry. Their 30th ranked rushing attack. Then Seattle, Kenneth Walker goes for 4.2 a carry. They get them in week 12 and week 14. But also on this thing, you got the Eagles, who are a top 10 rushing offense, and you've got another date with James Conner, and then you get the Ravens, who are the number 1 rushing team in football on Christmas, with Lamar, Gus Edwards, and they just discovered this rookie out of East Carolina, Keaton Mitchell, who's really fast and small and very talented.
Just because you stashed him on your fantasy team, don't talk him up like he's a big deal.
I'm telling you, he is a big deal.
He had a good game.
We're going to be talking about him on Christmas. And then Sam Howell, and the Commanders roll in. They got Brian Robinson, 4 yards a carry. Then it's one more date with Kyron Williams and Stafford. I'm just saying, if you look at their schedule, they've beaten some bad quarterbacks, Kenny Pickett, Daniel Jones, Josh Dobbs. They've also beaten some teams that didn't run it and didn't commit to the run. But the last 3 weeks, teams have committed to the run, or even if they haven't committed to the run, they're running it effectively. And if you let Joe Burrow have an effective run game, you let Cousins have an effective run game, they will carve you up, and they did carve them up.
Well, here's...
So I'm eager to see what this looks like on Sunday, because here's the bottom line. They had Ridgeway, they had Ebukam, they had Jimmy Ward. A couple years ago, they had K1. They had Mosley. They had Al-Shaair. All those guys were good against the run. DJ Jones a few years back. They're not the same run D that teams used to be like, uh-oh, we're not even going to try it. Now everybody's put it on film that you can run on the Niners. Get ready for the Jaguars to try to gash them.
I'm sure they'll try. Yeah, you're listening to 95.7 The Game, KGMZ FM and HD1 San Francisco, always live on the free Odyssey app, Twitch and YouTube, powered by First NorCal Credit Union. Here's what I'd say, a couple things. One of them encouraging, one of them I think is nerve-wracking, based on everything that you just said there. I'm not concerned yet about anything that's going to come out of the next 2 to 3 weeks, maybe not even that long. Like, the Ravens on Christmas. Okay, no. If you're right, if the 49ers play like this, they might not even be in it anymore by Christmas. We won't even care because they have had some characteristics, even though they're 5-3, they have had some characteristics in the last 3 weeks of losing football teams, which is we can't run and can't stop it. That is, for me, characteristic one of bad football teams in the NFL. You can't run it and you can't stop it. That's it. You're dead. So they've got to fix it. So whoever they are on Christmas Day better be completely different than the team we've seen to this point. The bye week allows them to, A, get healthy, acquire another defensive lineman, work on whatever it is that they're going to rework schematically and in terms of performance. And they have got to come out and be a completely different team this Sunday. And there is some history to suggest that they will, starting just with the way they tend to come out of a bye. They're too talented not to figure this out to a certain degree. So I think we'll see a better football team. But here's also what we can throw into this mix. We talk a lot about Kyle Shanahan's 0 for 36 when down by 8 or more entering the fourth quarter. We talk about Brock Purdy's interceptions largely coming in the fourth quarter. I listened to everything that you just stated about putting a team in a one-dimensional spot so that they can't run the ball effectively. The more I listen to all this, the more I realize the Niners have a characteristic I don't like. The first half of football games is way too important. Everything you're telling me suggests the Niners are an elite team if they punch you first. If they punch you first in the first quarter, they are an elite football team. But if somebody runs all the way down to the 10-yard line and fumbles, and the other team goes the other way and goes up 7-0, you become very ordinary very fast because everything you're trying to do is suddenly next to impossible. And I don't mean this in a simplistic like, oh, it's better to be ahead than behind. 7-0 in the NFL is no big deal. It really isn't. But it seems like it is for this team. It changes the game script completely. They have a hard time rallying from behind, and it allows the other team to be multidimensional. And on defense, when the other team's multidimensional, they have not been able to stop them. So all of a sudden, it's like, dude, don't be late to the couch. If the Niners go up 10-0, they're going to win. If they go down 10-0, they're going to lose.
They got to have the game in their way because
I don't like that.
I know. I don't either. The better teams can beat you any number of ways. They can win from ahead. They can win coming off the pace and from behind. 49ers have an offensive line that has some issues. If they fall behind on the chains and it's a passing game and the run and the play action, nobody's biting on the play action fakes. They don't have a lot of speed at wide receiver. They don't create a lot of room, and their offensive line can't stand up. They got to have the run game. They got to get a lead and run. And then they're built on defense to rush the passer, especially now. Hargrave, pass rusher. Bosa, Chase Young, a lot of pass rush. But run defenders, if they fall behind, and the other team's running the ball, they have a hard time getting off the field. They really do. I think it's going to be very, very interesting. And I'll say this. You can sit there and be like, and Peter didn't want to create a lot of urgency to this game. They lose this game, that's 4 losses in a row.
I'm putting a ton of urgency on this game.
They lose the next week to Tampa. I mean, if they lose this week, I guarantee you everybody and their brother will come out and say the Tampa game's a must-win. And it probably is at that point because you can't lose 5 in a row and then be staring at Seattle, Philly, Seattle, Arizona, Baltimore in the next 5 weeks. And then you're looking at 7 losses. I mean, you're already probably already headed to Philly for the championship game if you can get there. That the home field advantage for the championship game is probably almost salted away.
I'm not with you on that at all.
You think Philly's going to come back to the pack?
Well, let's remind everybody what Philly is about to do. Okay, it's about to be Philly's bye week, and let's remember what happens from Thanksgiving to Christmas for Philadelphia. They go at Kansas City, home to Buffalo, home to the 49ers, at Dallas, at Seattle. Okay? That's their next 5 football games.
Yeah. Maybe that 2 losses in there.
Big of a gauntlet as you could possibly imagine in the game of football. You say maybe 2 losses?
Well, I think Kansas City and the Niners are going to challenge them. I think they're going to beat those other teams.
I would tell you right now, I think they'll lose at Dallas.
Okay.
I think Philly will lose at Dallas. I think at Seattle for them is going to be
you never know. They lost to the Jets, right? So anything could. It's the NFL. Anything could happen.
Of course, they could have lost to Dallas.
They are 8-1.
If Dallas wasn't so lame with a minute left to go in the clock, they probably would have lost to Dallas a couple of days ago. I mean, I thought they outplayed Dallas, but they easily could have lost that football game. The game against Washington the week before was real tough. Their next game is Monday night, not this week, but the following week to get a bunch of rest, but then they go to Arrowhead. It's the game of the year.
Yeah.
It's the game of the year.
And Kansas City's defense is legit.
They are. And then you're coming out of that on a short week to play Buffalo.
And Buffalo will be super hungry because
no doubt, they're going to be desperate.
Well, they are. I mean, if the season ended today, Buffalo is not going to the playoffs.
That's bananas. It's just
How about
bananas.
that?
Well, they're 5-4.
Yeah.
And so you can see what 5-4
So they're
feels
desperate.
like.
So then maybe that game is going to be tougher.
I'm with you, man. I think this Niner game this weekend, it's not even so much about, like you phrase it, must win. You must look different.
I don't think it matters how you look. You just have to win.
Well, no, I think you got to.
You just got to get the W.
I'm with you, but do you understand where I'm coming from? Of like,
you want to see a shift in there.
You better have fixed something, or else it doesn't matter. Because
I hear you.
You can beat Jacksonville, be 6-3, win the West. You ain't winning in the playoffs with this. You're not.
One thing that I think is absolutely a necessity, and I'm going to mention it to Kyle Shanahan tomorrow when I'm down there.
Wow. That was a flex. That was a power move right there.
I think they have to begin on offense to protect their defense. I think they have to start playing complementary football on offense. I think they need to possess the football a little bit more on offense and protect their defense. Kasaric told me in July, Nick Bosa I can't run him out there 65 to 70 snaps. He won't be around in the playoffs. Guess how many snaps he played against Cincinnati? 68.
Yep.
And guess how many times he's gone over 60 snaps this year? 4 times, and 3 of them are in the last 3 weeks.
But you know who the ball possession guys are on offense? Deebo Samuel and Trent Williams. Those are the third down converters.
Yeah. The other thing is they gotta get some dynamic stuff on the field as far as more speed on D. I don't know where it's coming from. If it's Jair Brown, if it's Jalen Graham, if Chase Young, if it's Luter or Womack, they gotta do something with Oliver. They gotta get Womack on the field and get Lenore inside and put their 3 best corners out there. Oliver cannot play coverage. He's given up 100% completion percentage the last 3 weeks. He's made a few tackles, but he cannot stay with any shifty multi-move slot receiver. So that's one. And then J.P. Mason. Kyle, get J.P. Mason on the field. Put him at running back. The guy had a 26-yard run against Dallas. It was very impressive. I don't know that he's touched the ball since that run. And I would flex out CMC and use Mason a little bit.
Well, he scored the touchdown in Cleveland, so he's definitely touched the ball since Dallas. Scored that touchdown in Cleveland.
Yeah. Okay. But I'm just saying, like, he may have like 2 carries in the last 3 weeks.
Yep.
And this guy's too big, too fast. He looks like a poor man's Marshawn Lynch. I know Kyle loves Elijah Mitchell. Mitchell ain't getting it done. How many times are you going to run him into a brick wall?
No.
The other thing is the 49ers have to run the ball a little bit with a little bit more success running the football. In the games that they've won, they've run the ball well, but the last 3 games, they can't run. There's no running lanes.
Trent Williams.
They've got to run the ball. But even inside, I mean, I know this game, there will be no Aaron Banks. Feliciano's going to play left guard, but Brendel got destroyed by DJ Reader. And Spencer Burford can't block for the run without getting a penalty. So Forster's got to get his guys to open up some run lanes. They got to do something. I don't know if it's running Debo or Mason, but they got to get the run game going. You know, they can't put it all on Brock Purdy. They got to get a lead. They got to play complimentary football and take care of the ball a little bit.